special session for Thursday, July 9th, 2020 is called into session. Ms. Stowe, if you would lead us in prayer, please.
I'll be happy to. Let's pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day. And Lord, we thank you for the people in this school system who have worked tirelessly to prepare plans for our children to return to school in a safe and orderly manner. And we just ask that tonight, as we go through these plans, that you guide our thoughts and our decisions, that it will be for the good of everyone, and everything will be to your glory. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Mr. Perkins, before you move to the approval of the agenda, let me just go ahead and read something here. First of all, good evening and welcome to the general public to our virtual meeting of the Madison County Board of Education. This meeting is called pursuant to the Open Meetings Act provisions of Governor Kay Ivey's first supplemental proclamation of a state of emergency issued March 18, 2020. As part of that proclamation, the board may deliberate and vote upon items that fall into two categories: actions responding to COVID-19 and actions necessary to perform essential minimum functions of the board. The members of the board with us this evening are my Vice President, Mr. Nathan Curry, District 2, Ms. Angie Bates, District 3, Ms. Mary Louise Stowe, District 4, Mary
3.
Louise Stowe, and District 5, Ms. Sherry Rucker are present, as well as myself. Also present are Superintendent Perkins and Ms. Cynthia Thompson. Does anybody need me to read the rules of engagement that we adopted on April 6th of this same year when we began our virtual meetings? It just says that when we do a roll call vote, it'll be by district, and I'll call you up by name. If you wish to speak, just unmute or raise your hand, and I will recognize you, and we can speak at that point in time. And I'll make sure that anyone that has a hand raised has an opportunity to speak. Mary Louise, since I can't see you, since you are dialing in, just let me know that you want to speak.
Well, does me not being mute, is that interfering with the broadcast? If it is, tell me what to do.
If you're not on mute, that should be fine. If it does, we'll work through it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Mr. Perkins.
All right. I recommend approval of the agenda dated July 9th, 2020.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Curry and a second from Ms. Rucker. Is there any discussion on the agenda for this evening? If there is none, all those in favor say, I'm sorry. Mr. Curry?
Aye.
Ms. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Stowe?
Aye.
Ms. Rucker?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye. Okay. Mr. Perkins.
Informational items, athletic gate fee, Mr. Lavelle Everett.
Good evening. You should have in the folder a spreadsheet of, we're looking at the feasibility of possibly raising our gate fee for our basketball and our other sports other than football. We're looking at the feasibility of raising it $1. You should see in your folder that was shared with you guys a spreadsheet that shows all the regional football or all the regional teams that each classification plays in 7A, 6A, and 4A, and it should show you what each other school charges for admission for football, basketball, other sports, and parking. And it just kind of get our fees are at the very top in red. And it should give you a comparison of where we stand compared to our local schools and the teams we play in our region play. So as you can see, if we look at under basketball, we charge $5 for admission, and we look at all the other teams, and some of them are blank because I was not able to contact some of those schools that they probably don't work through the summer or 12-month employees like some of us. So you can see for the most part, there are really 2 or 3 schools in between 7A and 4A that do not charge $6. And that would be, and you can see the names on there. So everyone else charges $6 for admission. We just want to try to be consistent, and we want to help our sports out. When we go to these places, our parents are having to pay those amounts, and we want to be sure. We want to help our teams out as much as possible. Last spring, the HSAA raised all the officials' fees for every sport, and some of our spring sports that don't generate as much revenue, they take a pretty good hit on when you pay for your officials' fees, especially since they've gone up some by 30 to 40%. So I think this would help those sports, our basketball and our other sports, as they try to compete and try to win championships for our school system and our schools. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and what our proposal is, or what we're going to talk about right now. So if there's any questions, I'd be glad to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Any discussion, any comments from the board members? We discussed doing this last year, I think, correct? And we chose not to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mr. Perkins.
All right. Informational item 2, the Madison County School System's reopening plan for 2020-2021. And I'm going to share my screen with you in just a second. I do want to take a moment, though, to thank my team, thank the administrators of our system, teachers, our community. We've had an overwhelming amount of support and input when it comes down to looking at reopening our schools. I'm talking about our team put in tireless, countless hours, not just occasionally, but since we got out of school in March, in anticipation of opening school back up, what it needs to look like, how to make sure that what we have in place is going to benefit our students and benefit our faculty and our staff. Hours that were not just 9 to 5 or really 7 to 5 hours. I'm talking about hours early in the morning before they even came to work, hours that were spent after work hours, on the weekends. We've had meetings on weekends. I can't say enough about the team that I work with. I appreciate the board. The board has been very supportive, taking the calls and answering questions, and just, it's been a complete collaborative team effort in putting this plan together and looking at how we can best serve our community, how we can best serve our students in a healthy, safe way as much as possible. And so I just wanted to just start by saying that it's been tremendous, how much energy and time that everyone's put into it. And I personally want to say thank you to everyone, parents who I've had the privilege of talking with, and questions and suggestions that have come up. It has been nothing less than phenomenal. And I can't thank everybody enough for what they've done and for the input that they've had on putting this plan together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to share a presentation, and we'll go ahead and get started. At least I'm going to attempt to share my screen. All right. I think it's coming. There we go. And present mode. Okay, again, our Madison County plan for reopening. Everyone knows COVID-19 has proven to be a pandemic that has impacted society as a complete whole, not just, Madison County, but I'm talking the entire United States, the entire world. It's a fluid, phenomena. Every plan you make, something else comes up and you have to adjust. And it feels like we've had to adjust and make plans, and something else, comes out and we have to go back and adjust. And so it's been something that has been, nothing less than a continual moving target. But, a lot of times, and I tell, my team and my Madison County family this all the time, what seems to be often a stumbling block actually is a stepping stone. Because through this time, we've looked at multiple areas that we have moved up on higher levels and higher grounds. And so adversity often gives an opportunity for individuals or for systems and for business organizations to do better, to grow, to develop, to implement and establish things that actually propel them forward, to actually allow them to put forth a product or to put forth something that benefits humanity in a greater way. And I think that our plan and what we've done and what we continue to do is impactful to the point that our kids and our community will be impacted for the better. Of course, this plan, is fluid because of COVID-19, but additional guidance and guidelines might dictate, minor changes and things of that nature as we move forward. But the main purpose, goal, focus of this plan is to ensure the safety of our students, to ensure the safety of our faculty, to ensure the safety of our staff holistically. And so this plan, or what I'm presenting tonight, or what I'm sharing tonight, is an overview. There are multiple parts to the plan, but what I wanted to make sure we did was wanted to cover those areas that I've heard from parents who've asked questions about. Emails have gotten in. They want to know about, about our traditional, our educational plan, our curriculum plans. They want to know about safety, and they want to know about preventative measures that's out there. So those are some of the things I'm going to share tonight. Again, our 4 pillars of excellence is what Madison County is founded upon. COVID-19 hasn't changed one iota anything that pertains to the mission that we have. Our mission still is to create and support high quality public schools that maximize student achievement, expand student opportunities, and that prepares our students to function competitively in a global environment, a global world. And if you look at that pillar of excellence and our mission as a foundation that's holding up our students, through transparency, equity, readiness, and advocacy, our students they're still the focal point of what we're doing. And COVID-19 hasn't changed that in this little bit. It hasn't taken us off or thrown us off of our game or changed our focus, but it's kept us steadfast and focused on what we need to do to ensure that our students get the absolute best and putting forth the best possible effort as we possibly can. I believe I feel like I have a moral obligation to make sure that due diligence is put forth to make sure that our kids get the very best. And one of the things that I've been excited about, and I see even more deeply and in-depthly, is how the Madison County family have come together and rallied around the whole concept of making sure that our kids are safe, our faculty and our staffs are safe. And our strategic plan, another element that COVID-19 hasn't taken us off of our focus. It's still a focal point. It's a living, fluid document. And as we continue to look at how we're strategically move into the future, we have to take into consideration the new phenomena of COVID-19, and then do those things that are necessary to make sure that our kids get the absolute best. So what I want to do, I want to share with the board and with the community exactly what to be expected. So in our plan, my desire was to actually put this plan out like directly after this board meeting or tomorrow. We're going to have to push it until to Monday, July the 13th. We got some additional information that we need to add to the plan and make a couple of adjustments, and I want to make sure that we make those adjustments before we send out. But I want everyone to know, and our parents to know, that these are the items that that we're planning on pushing out on Monday, barring any kind of setbacks or anything of that nature. So the first thing would be a parent overview version. And that parent overview version is part of what I will actually cover tonight. I'll touch on that tonight. There will be a link to the full reopening plan that will actually be connected to that parent overview version. So on that version at the bottom, it'll have a link that takes you directly to the full plan if you want to read all of the information that's in it, because it's robust. I've put together a video that will accompany it, just kind of giving some highlights and covering a couple of things. That video will be accompany all that information as well. We've pulled together a frequently asked question document that we've gotten over the months. We've gotten some questions from parents and questions that we've had that we've thought that parents might need to know. We've put that together into one document so that if you have a question, you can go there and click on it. It is separated into categories. If it deals with health, if it deals with instruction, it's so that any questions that might be out there that others have asked, the others have the privilege of being able to see what's outlined in it. I will actually touch on some of the questions tonight. At the end of this presentation, I did have put in some of the FAQs just so that we can look at it. But I'll actually make that will be connected in one of the documents that will go out on Monday. And then a parent survey to determine remote learning options. So this survey will go out to parents on the 13th. And I'm asking that our parents will return or respond within 7 days. So once it go out on Monday, then we'll check responses and pull the data no later than the following Monday. And that's so that we can actually get a good count so that we can continue to plan and get ready for our students who will be coming back to us August the 19th. And then lastly, a course list for remote learning. This document will actually give an entire listing or a listing of the remote learning courses that the remote learning option or plan will actually put forth. And we'll be utilizing schools PLP for that remote learning option. So just to kind of get into the plan, and this is the first opening plan. It's just kind of a highlight of what we're talking about and what we discussed. This plan is the culmination or the pulling together of multiple sources. As soon as we got out, we start planning, as we plan to do the digital backpacks and things of that nature. We also planned reopening. And so we created a task force to actually look at different elements of our school system and different protocols and procedures that we need to put in place in order to open up school in a healthy, safe way. And that task force consisted of parents in our community, community leaders, healthcare professionals. We had teachers on that task force. We had administrators on the task force. We had central office personnel on the task force. We had a wide range of individuals on the task force giving us input, feedback, asking questions, helping us to look at how best to serve our parents and our students and our parents, our community as a whole. The information in this plan comes from the task force, but it also comes from information that we've gained and pulled from the Alabama Department of Education as well. It's information that we've utilized and tried to stay in step with public health orders by Governor Ivey and also the Alabama Department of Public Health. We've pulled together recommendations and taken into consideration the requirements that have been laid out by various entities in order to build this particular plan. And while, student safety and security and staff safety is our priority, of course, that there's always a level of risk, especially dealing with COVID-19. But this plan, this reopening plan, focuses on the health, the physical requirements necessary for school buildings to open and gives continual guidance and recommendations as schools open up to navigate through the academic parts of our system, through the social and emotional parts of our students, to navigate through the pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic, so that our students can be healthy and safe, so that our employees can be healthy and safe as much as possible within our powers, following the guidelines that have been given to us throughout this entire ordeal. So our plan has 10 areas of focus, 10 areas of focus. And the first area of focus, addressing spread in Madison County schools. So our addressing spread in Madison County schools fall into 3 levels. And I'll talk about those levels as we go along. But each area of focus falls under or has under it a level. Level 1, level 2, level 3. And I'll talk about that. Level 1 is minimal spread. Level 2 is moderate spread. Level 3 would be substantial spread. And so each one of these areas of focus will fall under one of those particular levels. And it's progressive as you go along in terms of identifying where we need to go. And I'll talk more about that when we go down a little further. But each one of the areas of focus, focus 2 is practicing prevention. That's the heart. That's one of the heart or the cornerstones of opening a school and making sure that individuals are safe and secure, because practicing prevention has to become second nature to what we do as a district. It has to be second nature, and it has to be something that we automatically do in order to function day by day. Practicing prevention takes into account of making sure that we are proactive in trying to make sure that our schools and our students and our faculty and our staff are exposed as minimally as possible to the effects of COVID-19 or anything for that matter. Area of focus number 3 is supporting teaching and learning. We have options that's available to cover all the needs of our parents and our students. We have the traditional, we have remote, we have multiple options. We have Madison County virtual school that it will be an option, but we wanted to make sure that the plan and our options took into consideration the concerns and the focus of all of our parents and all of our community as we move forward. Number 4, transporting students. And of course, that's referring to, our transporting of our students on our buses. We will still run our buses, we'll still pick up our children. In order to make sure that they're safe, we'll have to make sure that all of our students on the bus will require masks for the students coming on the bus. We'll talk about that. Number 5, entering and exiting the school building. It's just important to identify, places of where people are entering and making sure that those areas are staying clean and sanitized. Number 6, serving meals, our cafeterias, providing lunches and safe meals setting for our kids, adjusting the number of students in the cafeteria, having hybrids of eating in classrooms, providing boxed lunches, things of that nature. Number 7, transitioning, looking at transitioning from one place to the next, one area of a school to the next. What's the safest way of doing that? What are some ways to make sure that we are minimizing transitions to the extent that we are minimizing spread? 8, conducting large group gatherings, looking at the number of students or individuals in a given area, trying to make sure that those areas are broken down and those gatherings are smaller and that they are socially distanced as much as possible. And then protecting vulnerable populations. And that's focusing on our students who are vulnerable. That's focusing on our staff and our faculty members who are vulnerable, making sure that we have a plan of action for protecting those individuals who need extra protection and making sure that they have what they need. And then finally, staff and student COVID-19 protocols. That's looking at what do we do if we have exposure? What steps do we make if a faculty member is exposed or if a student is exposed? So all of these areas of focus, I will not cover and touch on every last one of them tonight. However, the plan will be available online to touch on each one. However, what I am touching on tonight are those areas that basically encapsulates all areas. For instance, practicing prevention. It covers all areas. Safety protocols and things of that nature, that captures all areas. And then supporting teaching and learning. That's the focus of what we do as a school system. And if it's a focus, then it has to be a point of reference as we move forward. So one of the challenges, of course, in any situation like this is the challenge of wellness and being able to create opportunities to minimize as much as possible areas of where we can. Challenges with wellness has to do with making sure that we can keep our people as well as possible and that we can minimize exposure if individuals are sick. So one of the key points, and there are 3 points of screening that we're looking at and that we will actually embark in and take part in. And that first area of screening, and the screening continuum is what we call it, is the home. It's the first point of contact when you start looking at students coming to school. It's the most important in that when students leave home, we've got to actually start screening there. So what we're going to ask parents to do is to actually be that first barrier of defense in aiding us to keep the entire masses as safe as possible. So we're going to ask families if they would monitor their children when they're at home, do the temperature checks, that they would if symptoms arise and their kids have symptoms, that they would keep them home. And it's not just with our students and parents of our students, but with our families and faculty members as well, to make sure that we're monitoring ourselves to make sure that we're not coming in contact with others and spreading COVID in any kind of way. So we're going to ask parents to do and to conduct health screenings for their children, to check the temperatures. And if their temperature is 100 degrees and they're showing signs, we're going to ask that you keep them home. Because what we want to do, we want to be as face-to-face, open traditional schooling as much as we possibly can. And all of us together as a complete team, as a complete unit, have to do this in order to make this a reality. That second point on the screening continuum is transportation. Staff members or bus drivers will visually check for symptoms when a student gets on the bus, visualizing and seeing if there's anything, questionable and things of that nature. And if there is, notifying the school, notifying the nurse, which brings us to that next point of school as the final point on the screening continuum. Staff will visually check for symptoms and also may include temperature checks for students. And also contacting and touching base with families to make sure that our students are COVID-19 symptom free. It's extremely important, and we can only make this happen if we do this as a complete team, as a complete unit. I'm reminded of a quote that says, Many hands make light work. And that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we all together as a complete family do the things that's necessary to make sure that that we can maintain safety and health within our district. Have some definitions, because these are some of the things that we're going to be talking about and you'll hear about quite a bit. Facial coverings, hand sanitizer, cleaning and disinfecting on a continual basis. In each one of our levels, we have recommendations as it relates to facial coverings, and we'll touch on those. However, the reality is we have a health ordinance that was passed that we have to make sure that we are abiding by as well. So we're going to make sure that we do those things that are necessary and that we are required to do by law. And besides, we're going to do what we believe is the best possible thing for our students, because we want to make sure that they stay healthy and stay safe. So I want to kind of get into addressing the COVID-19 spread in Madison County schools, and that was one of the first areas of that I talked about in terms of addressing COVID spread. So each area of focus, again, is broken down into levels. Each level has procedures and protocols within that level. And as you move from one level to the next, it intensifies based on the level of spread of COVID-19. So level 1, minimal spread; level 2, moderate spread; level 3, substantial spread. So you may be saying, well, how do you determine what level or where we actually are? Well, we're actually going to utilize multiple data points and multiple areas of focus to actually determine where we are and which level. Now, I want to preface it by saying that a school could be at a different level than the district as a whole. And I say that because one school may have a higher level of spread, and we may have to adjust that school based on the level of spread, because school A may have a higher percentage or level of spread than school B. So school A may have to transition into level 2 or some other modified in level 3, while the rest of the school system continues to function and move on as regular. But if you look at the document, the following criteria will be used to determine our level of operation of each school and or the school system. So we're looking at this from an individual school and our entire system. So number 1, the number and or percentage of current cases in both a school and or the school system. So we're looking at what are our percentages? What does it look like in our schools, and what does it look like our system as a whole? Number 2, the number of staff and or percent of staff that are quarantined due to COVID-19 in a school and or school system. This can pose a challenge. Even now, when teachers are out and we have to get subs, even finding subs are generally kind of hard. So we'll see how things operate in this particular environment. Number 3, recommendations from the Department of Public Health, and there are multiple areas, data points that the Department of Health puts out that we will look at and determine where we are, or help determine where we are, along with the other levels that we'll focus on, or other data points that we focus on. And number 4, recommendations from the Alabama Department of Education, because we're working in constant connection and concert with the State Department of Education, so that we can make the best possible decisions. So our levels are depending on multiple data points to determine where we are as individual schools, but also as a district as a whole. So what you're looking at here, this is our COVID-19 reopening document for parents. It's not the full document, but it will take you to the full plan. So there are three basic areas of information and 2 links that's on this first page right here. So you're looking at, we're looking at the instructional options. We have traditional, remote, and our Madison County Virtual Academy. Another area, practice and prevention, looking at our preventative standards measures based on our levels. And then our levels of safety measures. And I talked about that a little while ago. Level 1, minimal spread. Level 2, moderate spread. Level 3, substantial spread. And if you notice at the bottom, if you want to read the full version of the 2020 Madison County Reopening Plan, you'll just click there. There'll be a link for you to be able to click and go, and it'll take you directly to the plan. You want to read through the entire plan, it's there. And it covers all of those areas of focus. And it actually has them broken down into these level of safety measures as well. And then if you want to read or you have some questions and you want to kind of go through the frequently asked questions section, we have that on that front page as well, so that you can go to that front page and click on it and then see, you know, what are the questions and answer some of the questions that our parents basically have. This is the second page that you'll see. And that top section right there is instructional options. And so these are delivery models based on the level of spread. So these are actually delivery models, instructional options that actually fall under the instructional plan, and they all fall under a level of spread. So at the bottom, you'll notice that it has the different levels of spread, and we'll actually go into that in more detail. So we have remote instruction. We have the Madison County Virtual Academy, and then we have hybrid. And I know you probably noticed, well, where's the traditional? Well, traditional, we know what traditional looks like. Traditional will be face-to-face with those preventative measures and those safety measures that will be outlined in how we will function in terms of social distancing, masks, hand sanitizer, sanitizing, continuing to keep things in a place where we are trying to minimize the issues of spread within Madison County schools. So our instructional options, the remote instructional option. And so what I'm going to go through and just basically explain each one of those options. Talked about the traditional, but want to explain each one of those options so you can kind of understand what that option actually is. So our remote instruction is a virtual option for students in grades K through 12 who remain enrolled at their current school. So basically, parents have the option, if they want to, they don't want to go traditional and they don't want to go to the Madison County Virtual Academy, but they want to be connected and maintain connection at their base school. So this is the remote instruction option. We'll work through the school's PLP. This instructional option, and I want to make sure I preface this, in the past, in March, when we shut down, we went to a digital backpack. Well, this is completely different than the digital backpack. This is a more robust remote instructional method that has online curriculum that meets the same standard as our local schools' curriculum. It is state standard based. Now, it may not match necessarily the pacing of the activities of traditional school, but it is completely different than the digital backpack, and it is much more robust, and it actually connects more closely to what actually takes place in a traditional classroom setting. Now, of course, traditional classroom interaction based is always, the highest form. However, there will be a teacher that's connected with the remote instructional option. Local school staff will provide the online support. Chromebooks will be made available to students based on need. Reliable internet is necessary. However, we've put into place some options as it relates to our busing system, putting Wi-Fi devices on our buses that we will actually strategically place throughout areas within Madison County. to assist with internet access. The remote learning instructional process or plan option will follow the same calendar as we do with our school system. School starts on the 19th. All the holidays, they follow the exact same. Instruction or attendance will be taken each day by logging into the remote learning course. So every day students are required to log into the system and we're able to take attendance through that. Grades will be taken. Grades will be taken. Now the elective part, some of the electives may be limited for virtual students, but there's still some opportunities that we're working through as well even with that option. Students will only be allowed to transfer from virtual to traditional at the end of each grading period. So that's important to know. When you select the option, when a parent selects this option, we're asking and requiring that they maintain that option through each grading period. So we have not 4 grading periods. Each grading period we ask, a parent can reevaluate where they are and then make the adjustment, but not in between and not back and forth. Madison County Virtual Academy as a delivery option. Again, we just want to explain what it is. Students in grades 3 through 12 have the option of either enrolling in the Madison County Virtual Academy. Now, our Madison County Virtual Academy is a standalone school. It functions just like one of the other schools, except for it is a school by itself. And so if you want to be a part of the Madison County Virtual Academy, then you would need to enroll into the Virtual Academy. The curriculum is online. It meets the standards of our local standards for our local school curriculum. Doesn't necessarily follow the same pacing as the traditional, but it still is an option. Internet connection is necessary in order to take place and take part in this particular option. When you, just like in the remote learning option, attendance will be taken each day by logging into the remote learning platform or the remote learning course. Grades in this platform actually will be taken as well. Electives are limited. However, there are some things that we're looking at working on as we work through our virtual program. Madison County Virtual Academy staff will be available to provide in-person help through our labs, but also online support. So, if students have to, hey, I've got to go in and I've got to, have some additional assistance, there is a provision for that to actually take place by going to our labs at the Virtual Academy. And the Virtual Academy also follows the system calendar as well. And so for Madison County Virtual Academy, for the policies and procedures, you'll be able to go to their website to get more information as it relates to the Madison County Virtual Academy. And then our hybrid instructional model. Now, our hybrid model falls under the category of level 2 moderate spread. So the goal is to reduce the number of students in schools each day, and that's just to cut down on the numbers. Students in grades pre-K through 12 are divided into 2 groups, with each group reporting to school on alternating days and participating in distant learning during the days that they're actually scheduled to be at home. Now, based on numbers, one school or one, like I said in the beginning, that alternating, moving from one level to the next can possibly be determined by the actual, by school based and not necessarily by complete district, by the entire district. So It just depends on what those guidelines and those points that we identify in our levels of spread, those data points that we will use to identify which level we move into. Alternating days, and this is just one option that we have put together. Group A, Mondays and Thursdays. Group B, Tuesdays and Fridays, with Wednesdays for tutoring, special populations, as well as desanitizing and professional development as well. So when we look at our levels of safety measures under our instructional plan, level 1 minimal spread, these are the options under level 1 minimal spread. We have the pre-K through 12th grade, the traditional model. That's traditional school. Students will return to school full-time or in-person learning. All schools offer traditional instruction. We also offer the virtual instructional remote learning. So students can actually engage in remote learning. We just talked about that a little bit ago. And then also in level 1 minimal spread, grades 3 through 12 can still go to our virtual academy. And students will enroll in the standalone school. That's in the level 1 minimal spread. That's the options under level 1 minimal spread. I can't get that word out. Level 2 moderate spread, we have 2 options there. Pre-K through 12th grade can engage in or will engage in our hybrid model. And I just explained that. That's the alternating A-B schedule. That's based on us having to transition based on the conditions and based on the data points that will force us or cause us to have to move from one level to the next. But in our hybrid model, again, students are divided and broken up, and each student will go on a very specific days. And we have an actual calendar that we're building for this, for contingency, so that if we have to go this, there's plenty of, we'll give plenty of advance notice, whether it's to a specific school or whether it's district as a whole. But we'll actually make sure that everyone knows exactly where we are, based on communicating where we are and which level that we're functioning and moving into. In that moderate spread level, level 2, virtual instruction through our Madison County Virtual Academy is still an option. And then if we have to move to level 3, substantial spread, we have 2 options. Virtual instruction, where students, whether it is district-wide or whether it is individual school having to go remote learning. But we also still have the Madison County Virtual Academy, and they will continue on as they normally would continue to function. So now let's take a look at safety measures at each level. And so our safety measures at each level and each area, we have different measures and safety measures, things that we actually, or protocols and procedures that fall under each one of those levels. So when you look at our areas of focus, the safety measures are outlined right here. And then our practicing prevention, same thing. Each one of our levels has procedures and protocols that identify what needs to be done at each level. And when you move from one level to the next, level 1 protocols and procedures transition over to level 2 as well. So we're going to actually look at that in just a second. And that purple little box right there that you see, that is the criteria that we're using to move from one level to the next. And we discussed that a little while ago. So safety measures under level 1. Masks are provided for students. And well, they are provided for teachers too. Students will receive from the Alabama Department of Education, 3 masks per student. Students will be on, if they're riding the bus, students will be required to wear face masks and coverings on the bus. Hand sanitizer, soap will be provided, of course, in all the bathrooms and throughout the building, in classrooms. Hand sanitizer again on the buses. Meals may be served in the classroom at level 1. Our cafeterias will be implementing social distancing and other preventative methods to the extent feasible. So schools are actually working and planning now of how to make those, creating a schedule, to make sure that social distancing as much as feasible as possible within the lunchroom setting. Students with a temperature over 100 should stay home. Those are safety measures. That's to try to keep everyone safe. And this is those safety measures in level 1. And then limiting field trips in level 1 as well. And then also frequent deep cleaning and disinfecting of high touch surfaces. So that is constant cleaning and disinfecting of those areas that are high touch: doorknobs, light switches, railings, desks, those areas that are frequently touched and need to be made sure that's clean at each level. At level 2, so level 2 is level 1 measures plus the additional measures in level 2. So again, in level 2, all students and staff are required to wear masks inside the building. Now, of course, we have to follow guidelines and guidance by the health department as well. So that's one of those focus areas that we have to do. Deep cleaning of impacted classrooms and spaces. That's something that we will be doing in level 1 as well as in level 2. But this is an extra step, or extra focus of deep cleaning of various surfaces in classroom and all the other spaces. In order to adjust the density of population, we're looking at adjust school schedules to limit density of people in school facilities and transportation vehicles to no greater than 50% max occupancy. And so that goes back to that hybrid schedule to make sure that we're trying to lessen the number of individuals congregated together. Complete elimination of field trips, establishing protocols for students, pick up, drop off, limit the number of students in any given area is an area that we will do that. So when you start looking at, and I know I mentioned bus capacity. So when you're looking at transportation, if we go to a hybrid model, that actually cuts the number of individuals riding buses down as well. So that's one of the reasons of going to a hybrid capacity if necessary. And then lunchrooms at level 2, capacity limited to no greater than 50% occupancy. And then at level 3, schools are closed. Schools or a school are closed, and then transition to district-wide virtual learning. And then we will start implementing the meals provided through our site-based planning, like we did last year or in the spring through our site-based meal programs to make sure that we're still providing the necessary meals for our students as they are at home. And again, these are the criteria that we're utilizing to actually move from one level to the next. Practicing prevention. Under practicing prevention, there are levels just like in all the other areas. So in practicing prevention, these are the elements that schools and our school district are required to do. Teach and reinforce good hygiene. So that's one of the things that we're going to do. We're going to teach and reinforce by putting up signs and constantly singing the song of prevention, making sure that, it becomes second nature to us, making sure that we provide hand soap and sanitizers, paper towels, touchless trash cans and things of that nature in high traffic areas, encouraging social distancing, students and staff allowed to wear masks. Students will be allowed to bring hand sanitizer. Visitors and volunteers will be limited in the buildings because we want to make sure that we keep a healthy and safe environment. And then daily disinfecting and daily cleaning. And then again, and we talked about this before, parents conducting wellness checks at home prior to sending students to school. Now, one of the things that I do ask, we will be putting out is a checklist for parents to be able to help to facilitate and see where their child actually is. So practicing prevention, level 2, all the requirements of level 1 plus the requirements of level 2. Require all staff and students to wear masks at level 2 inside the building. And so we've looked at adjusting our pre-K through 2 to wearing masks when they're transitioning outside the classroom. And of course, this is contingent on making sure that we're following health guidelines as well, and first and foremost. Water fountains will need to be transitioned from, where kids are drinking from the water fountain to filling stations. And then in level 3 of practicing prevention, schools are closed or closed to students, schools and or individual schools or the district as a whole, again, as we transition into the different levels. And this would be an area where we would continue to communicate, continue to inform parents, continue to highlight practices of prevention and hygiene throughout the district, and actually highlighting protocols as well, and also encouraging COVID-19 testing. So that is the practice. That's basically covers those areas that we wanted to make sure that we covered. That covers basically all aspects of our plan as it relates to safety, prevention, and then making sure that we're highlighting the preventative measures throughout our district, and also making sure that that we understand, or that everyone understands what our options are as far as instructional options throughout our district. Now, I did put some of the frequently asked questions, and I thought that we would go through some of those and instruction-wise. So the first question is, will there be an option to move back and forth between online and in-person learning? What if we choose an option and it turns out not to be a good fit? Will we be able to switch? And we talked about that a little bit ago. Students will only be allowed to transfer from virtual to traditional, and vice versa at the end of each grading period. So at the end of each grading period, if the decision is made that you want to go back to traditional or go to virtual or go back and forth, it will have to take place during that grading period. Next question: will students who are learning remotely still be able to play sports? Yes, as long as they're enrolled in Madison County and continue to meet all the eligibility and team requirements. So yes, if they're remote learning, they still can engage in sport and athletics. How will testing and grading be conducted? Well, remote learning and our Madison County Virtual Academy assessment and grading will take place online. And again, I stress, we will definitely be taking grades as we do remote learning. For students who attend traditional school, will there be PE classes and recess? PE and recess will be part of the instructional day. It may look a little different as we work through the different levels to make sure that we are doing our best to keep our students as healthy and safe as possible as they move throughout the day. Is early graduation still an option with the first semester extended into January? I plan to graduate early and attend college. Yes, that's something that students will be able to do. How do I enroll in Madison County Virtual Academy? You can go to there's a enrollment link. We'll make sure that that's available for parents to click to enroll. Can homeschool students enroll in Madison County schools to attend remote learning? Any student that is enrolled in Madison County schools can participate in remote learning options. So if a student is within the Madison County attendance zone, then they can take part and participate in remote learning, or even for that matter, they can enroll in the Madison County Virtual Academy. Health and safety, will masks be required all day? Masks will be required depending on levels of safety measures and based on requirements of the Alabama Department of Health. So based on level and then based on the Department of Health. Will students eat lunch in classrooms? Depending on the size of the school and the capacity of the school's cafeteria, students may be scheduled to eat in the cafeteria or in their classroom. Schools are working, creating creative schedules. I've heard of some schools extending lunch a little bit longer on both ends to accommodate rotations of students in the cafeteria and accommodating social distancing within the cafeteria as feasible. Will there be social distancing in the classrooms? Schools are working the social distance students to the extent possible. So while safety is our priority, it's important to understand that there is a certain level of risk based on the nature of COVID-19. But we will do our due diligence and as far as possible or to the extent that we're able. And again, extracurricular activities. Can students learning remotely participate in athletics? Yes, they can. Students can participate in remote learning options. They may participate in all extracurricular activities that their base school actually provides. And then lastly, can students learning remotely participate in clubs and activities band? Yes, students participating in remote learning option may participate in extracurricular activities at their base school. Again, I want to stress what we're actually planning on putting out on Monday, July the 13th. Again, parent overview version. I gave you a glimpse of what that looked like, a link to the full opening plan, the entire plan covering all areas and all aspects, a video that I've worked on and put together with my team. Will be actually sent out. The document, the frequently asked question document, I only gave several examples of that in this PowerPoint, in this presentation, but the other document has more questions and answers for parents. And then a parent survey to determine remote learning options. Again, Monday the 13th, when that survey goes out, we're asking parents to select that remote learning option and get that information back to us. It'll be on a survey, so we'll actually get immediate feedback and be able to plan and schedule what our school day looks like. And then course lists for remote learning. So that remote learning option, we actually will provide a list of the courses that will be offered, of the ones that we have at this present time, just so that parents can kind of get a glimpse of what that looks like. Again, this plan, was put together with multiple sets of input. We've talked to countless individuals, healthcare professionals, professionals from the State Department level, individuals, professionals, and healthcare professionals as we put this plan together so that we can do our due diligence to open school in the fall in August. So with that, I am going to stop sharing this presentation. And if there's any questions, we can take those. now.
Alan, I appreciate you and your staff working so diligently to try to figure out a method and a way for us to reopen schools. I've said before, and I'll say again, I think it's vitally important that our schools do open, that they do open on time. Our children need to be back in the classroom as much as possible. They've been out of the school since the middle of March, and it's time for them to get back. But we also realize that we need to do it safely. We need to do it smartly. And we need to make sure that when the kids do come back into the classroom, that we've taken all the precautions necessary. And I think we've done that. I think it's important too to acknowledge the fact that this is a very fluid situation. That the briefing you gave a few minutes ago, we're now required to wear masks all the time when we leave home. So I think that could probably change things, and parents will have to figure that out. So, I mean, I think that it's a very fluid situation, and people need to be flexible and understand that what we brief tonight may be different tomorrow night, may be different next week, it may be different next month. But I appreciate all the work that you've put in to try and come up with a workable plan to get our kids back into school. And we have options for all of those parents out there and the students if going back to the traditional school is not what they want to do at this moment in time. So I'll open it up to the floor to any of the other board members that want to come.
I do have a question, Alan. What percentage constitutes a level change from level 1 to level 2? The percentage of spread. Do y'all have a concrete number, or is that just based on some Department of Public Health guidelines, or what's that actual number to transition from one to the other?
So we're using multiple data points. Originally, we looked at the Department of Health and their maps. So each one they had two maps that they put out. One of the maps outlined the percentage of the number of COVID cases in Madison County divided by the number of tests that were offered, and that came up with a percentage. If you divide those, you get a percentage. So we look at the percentage and see what the percentage rate is in that respect. However, that's just one data point. Their second map shows, gives different levels. And those different levels puts Madison County at a particular, it puts the county as a whole at a high risk, especially when you start looking at the number of cases that's taken place. So that's another data point. And then another data point would be the number of students that we have within our district or within our school. That would be another data point. The number of teachers in our schools, that would be another data point. So information coming from the Department of Health and the State Department of Education. So those are data points that we will pull and look at holistically to make a solid, sound decision on what we need to do. And again, it could very well be that a school is impacted more than school A could be impacted more than school B. And so we would have to enact some protocols for school A that we don't have to do for school B. We may have to move school A into a particular level based on where they are. When you're thinking about teachers, and one of the things, our teachers are fantastic. And, I pray that none of them get sick or anything of that nature. But if they do, we've got to be able to locate subs and be able to get individuals who are willing to come in. And if you have a school where you have a large portion of your teachers who are out, then we've got to make some decisions as to, where that school and where we actually are with that. And that's one of the reasons why it's so imperative that collectively and collaboratively, home, school, community, do our due diligence as a complete family to minimize as much as possible spread, so that we can make sure that we can keep our schools moving and keep our schools open and safe on a continual basis.
Ellen, if we were to open up school today with the current order for wearing of masks, would the students be required to wear masks in the classroom and on the buses?
On the buses, definitely, and in school, yes, based on the guidance that has been received from the Department of Health and the ordinance that was passed. The recommendation, and I've actually spoken with Dr. Landers, and that the strong recommendation is that that kids wear masks.
So if that's the case, and I'll, either Ms. Stiles or our resident nurse board member can help answer this question maybe too. But that's a long time for people to be in a mask, during the day. I mean, especially kids. So would we try to have a plan to where the kids can get outside or do something to kind of take that thing off and get, and I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, we will do our due diligence to make sure that that we, create environments where students are not, as far as we possibly can, impacted negatively, as far as we possibly can.
And Dave, I think the ordinance gives some schools a little bit of flexibility. Maybe I'm off, but I think there's a little bit of flexibility as far as the mask as it relates to schools. There
is some guidance on the order, and I actually called and spoke with Dr. Landers in that respect, and so I'm pretty certain they will be. They're not certain, but I'm hoping that clarification will come. And again, I do know that the expectation is for that order's expectation is for masks. However, it does take into consideration students or individuals who are in that vulnerable population who may not be able to wear it. So, there's some things that we can look at as we move forward. But we will work with our kids and our schools to minimize, issues as much as possible.
But at this point, the level 1 does not require mask.
On our plan,
right?
On our plan, school buses, yes.
Yes.
Every child on the school bus, you have to wear masks. Level 1 gives the option for personnel to wear masks, except for those who are in vulnerable populations, classrooms, like teachers who are vulnerable. We can require masks to be worn at that particular in that particular time in that classroom.
I just wanted to clarify, maybe it's clear to everybody else, but maybe not. The remote learning is going to use the state's software or learning package, correct?
That is correct. So the remote learning, the state has purchased K through 12 school PLP, which is a curriculum platform that will be available to school systems. We've had the opportunity to look at that program, and it's, I was in a meeting today, and myself and Mr. Solly, and I felt good about what I saw in terms of the options and the opportunities and what we're able to do with that remote learning program.
And one thing too, on the virtual school, I believe in the past, the students have had to come in and have proctored exams. Are we going to change that so they can have their exams from home like the remote learning, I presume, is?
Yes, we are working on that now. I actually spoke with Mr. Everett and Ms. Shoemate about that. We've discussed it, and we're actually working towards making sure that they can do the same thing. They can do assessments and things of that nature, as well as the labs, not necessarily having to come in for the lab.
They will have to come in for the labs or not?
No, they will only have to come in to the labs if they so desire. If they need assistance,
Okay.
we will have teachers who are available to assist them. We will have teachers who will be available to assist them in the lab. We'll also have teachers who are available to assist them remotely as well, virtually as well.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And then one other point, if a student is ill and needs to stay home, then they will somehow be able to learn remotely.
Yes, we do have some procedures that we're working on as far as attendance that will allow us to transition that student to remote learning so that they can continue the learning process. And will be counted present as a result of logging into that system and doing the work.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Perkins on this plan? Like I said, it's been a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort. I appreciate all of that you and the staff have done. I appreciate the board's patience and getting the briefings and talking with them and providing guidance as well. Fluid situation. We're all in this together, so we have to figure it out. And I think we've got a solid plan moving forward. Perfect. It's about a 90% solution. We'll leave it at that, and then we'll keep adding to it as we move forward. So,
Absolutely.
And you can't communicate enough with our families. They're going to have to know the plan, the process. I think there may need to be some guidance around the percentage of cases versus when we move to different levels. As you communicate this with families, I think they're going to want to know that in advance so they can plan and prepare.
We will, and we've talked about this extensively. We will make sure that our parents know well in advance and know where we are as we move forward.
sounds good. All right. And barring any additional questions, we'll move on with the administrative items.
Okay. Administrative items. I recommend approval of the contracts for services as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second from Ms. Stowe and a second from Mr. Curry. Is there any discussion on the contract of services as submitted? I think Karen's online if there's any questions on it. If there's no questions, we'll go for a roll call vote. District 1?
Aye.
District 2?
Aye.
District 3?
Aye.
District 5?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye.
All right. I recommend approval of the following bids as submitted.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Bates and I have a second from Ms. Rucker. Is there any discussion on the bids?
Just one question on we're not locked into any certain amount. I mean, there is an amount on these bids, but like depending on how school open and close, we just order what we need, I guess.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. These are just the original estimates for the volume, but you're exactly right.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Okay. District 1?
Aye.
District 2?
Aye.
District 3?
Aye.
District 5?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye. All right, moving on.
I recommend approval of the following personnel items and addendum as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. The motion is from Mr. Curry and the second is from Ms. Bates. Is there any discussion or questions? All right, any discussion or questions? Can I have something? Okay, Barney, any discussion or questions? We'll go for a roll call vote. Mr. Curry?
Aye.
Ms. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Stowe?
Aye.
Ms. Rucker?
Aye.
And the chair is a yes.
I recommend approval of the supplements as submitted.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Stowe and a second from Ms. Bates. Is there any discussion on this change order? Any questions for Mr. Kazort?
I think it's okay, never mind, my bad. My fault.
I think we're doing supplements, aren't we?
Yeah,
Supplements,
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. Yep, you're right. I got ahead of myself.
I questioned myself for a minute there. I was like, wait a minute. I had it checked off on mine. Like, well, maybe I missed it. Okay.
Nope. You're right. It's because I got my paper out of order. Okay, go ahead. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, we'll take a roll call vote. Mr.
Aye.
Curry? Ms. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Stowe?
Aye.
Ms. Rucker?
Aye.
And the chair is a yes. My apologies. Sorry.
I recommend approval of the contract change order for the partial roof replacement at New Hope Elementary School.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Bates and a second from Ms. Stowe. Is there any discussion on this change order? Sorry, Joe? If there's no discussion, we'll go for a roll call vote. District 1,
Aye.
District 2,
Aye.
District 3,
Aye.
District 5,
Aye.
and the chair is a yes. All right. It's been a long day in front of the computer. My eyes are tired. All right. We do not have an executive session or anything to be discussed there, so I will ask if there's anything for the good of the board. Anyone need to mention anything or bring forth anything for the good of the board?
Dave, I just wondered if Mr. Perkins could kind of outline what graduation is going to look like. I've had some concerns from parents about the safety with the increased number of cases in Madison County. So if we could just kind of spell out for people the precautions that we're taking.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Perkins. If you would.
I'm actually going to defer that to Dr. Minsky. He's worked very, very tirelessly on graduation. So we've had multiple discussions. He has worked hard with graduation.
You split the goalpost with that punt.
All right. Is my mic working in there? Making sure it is.
Yep.
As far as graduation, so our goal is to have as close to a regular graduation as we can for our graduates. So step one for the safety protocols, our graduates will be reporting to the East Hall, where we will be doing temperature checks and a COVID check with our nurses. So we've contracted some of our school nurses to set up basically tables where they'll be checked. They'll actually receive a sticker that says I've been checked, and they'll transition over to either a waiting queue line, which we have them set up 6 feet apart, or for a couple of our schools, they're going to report directly to their seats. As far as our guests who are being attending, all guests will be required to wear masks throughout the graduation, as well as our graduates. We are going to allow our graduates to take their mask off as they walk across the stage. In addition, before each graduation, we arrive, and after each graduation, the VBC is going to be sanitizing all of the seats in the area. The way they have the seats set up is each graduate is given X number of tickets. So seats are in groups of 4. So they'll have 4 seats, and then they have 4 seats strapped and blocked off where they can't sit. So it'll basically set it up where there is social distancing around the arena with the way the seating is taking place. And then our graduates will be on the floor. Their seats will be 6 feet away from everyone else, from the graduates. So the VBC is going to be doing the sanitation after each graduation. We'll have the masks in place. And for our graduates, we'll be doing the temperature checks when they arrive.
Okay, great. Let's see, what was it I was going to ask? Well, anyway, it's gone. Never mind. I'll call you. I'll call you when it goes back through. But of the dismissal from the after graduation, kind of tell us, like for the general public, what will that be like?
Yes, ma'am. In the past with our graduations, our seniors usually exited the building and then they congregated in large groups and waited for parents and friends and things. So one of the changes we are going to have for this year is once the graduates recess out from their graduation, they are going to be required to leave the VBC campus. We'll have some of our school resource officers out there to help them, as well as the attendees. We're going to ask them to return to their cars as opposed to congregating there at the VBC. So that is an adjustment we're making this year.
And the number of tickets that students have, is that 4 no matter what the size of the school?
No, ma'am. Sparkman elected to do 3 graduations. So each of their graduates will have 8 tickets. Madison County and New Hope, due to their size, will have 8 tickets per graduate. Buckhorn and Hazel Green elected to do a larger graduation. So due to the maximum number of people attending the graduation, so the maximum number we can have in the audience, I think, is 2,077, I think is the number. So those graduates will get 6 tickets. And then we will have some additional tickets that'll be at a table out front of the VBC for any additional family or guests that may need them. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Absolutely.
And I know, Mark, we're going to send out reminders to, it should be second nature by the middle of next week, but sending out reminders to the families, to the graduates that they must bring their mask. They will not be, that they have to have a mask in their possession in order to view the graduation.
Yes, sir. And I believe all of our high schools are doing some type of practice with the graduates next week. And during those, that's when the students will receive their tickets and they will go over all of the procedures and protocols there. We'll also be putting stuff out on our social media, making sure that attendees, not just the graduate, but other attendees who have tickets, understand that to get in the VBC, you're going to have a mask and have it on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Perkins, for an excellent briefing. Thank you, board members, for joining us this evening. We went virtual tonight primarily because of the new mask order in place, and we wanted to see how that was working out. We weren't sure how that would work out as far as a meeting goes, so we'll kind of play it by ear. The next meeting is the 23rd of July. Mr. Kerr, you'll be the presiding president for that meeting. I will be out of town. But thank you all very much for attending this evening, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Curry and a second from Ms. Stowe. Is there any discussion on that? If there is none, District 1?
Aye.
District 2?
Aye.
District 3?
Aye.
District 5?
Aye.
And the chair is a yes. Thank you all very much for attending. Have a good rest of the week. We'll see some of you next week at the graduations.
Okay, thanks.
See ya.